Good morning, guys. Rolland Market Mashup. It's November 12th. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. Rolland Market Mashup. Yesterday was kind of like a shuffling day where tech had a really nice rebound. It was up over 2%. And you saw S&P up a little, but Dow sold off, and a lot of the big names that saw their big gains from the vaccine news. And when the market went up over 2,000 points, they sold off a bit. Boeing, Ford, a lot of the names we talk about on here came down a little bit, which makes a lot of sense. And then what was more surprising, I think, was how much tech ripped back. And that's going to be really interesting to watch today because it's kind of at an interesting level of whether or not, we're actually in an upward trend with tech, or we've been fiddling around these levels and it ultimately wants to go lower. I think the verdict's still out on that. And, this morning, obviously, it's tough to know why the market does what it does, but they're liking the headlines regarding COVID and that the cases are really bad again, which is no surprise to anybody, but it's just interesting watching the balancing act with how people are looking at the foreseeable future with knowing there's a vaccine around the corner, but also knowing that COVID is as worse as it's ever been, and people are, getting the hospitals out of control, deaths are starting to spike again. So, I don't really know if the market's going to digest all this in a good way. I think the stuff with Trump is also hanging over the market, where regardless of how that plays out, it's a thing and it continues to be a thing. Dad, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the virus is causing more angst than Trump. If you go on the hysterical left stations, they're like one step short of a coup going on, which is crazy. He's just waiting for all the legal battles to be done, and then I'm sure he'll be done. But until they're all done, he's going to hang around. But the COVID stuff is definitely serious because a lot of these states are doing mini shutdowns, and who knows where it goes from there. And I think that's what the market's getting a little concerned with here.
And Dad, do you think there's a bunch of people that are, talking about how after Pfizer came out with their vaccine headline, the CEO sold millions of dollars worth of stock? And I don't know if that's kind of just protocol, or if maybe he's thinking like, hey, there might be some news that follows that isn't as bullish, where, 90% maybe turns into 70. No,
I don't think that's it at all. I think the reality is that Pfizer's not making any real money on this drug. And
so he used the opportunity of the spike.
Yeah, great opportunity to make a sale, and he knows it. Because I think at the end of the day, they may even lose money on the drug. It's hard to say, though.
Well, they also are in bed with the Biden team, and they're clearly knowing that they want a lockdown. So if I'm Pfizer CEO, I'm selling all my stock with where that's heading. I think we're heading for a huge
lockdown. The last thing it's going to affect are the drug stocks.
Right? Well, no, what's going to affect it is the sentiment around us going into a lockdown after New Year's again.
You think we're heading for a huge sell-off, you just said?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anyone's really been paying attention. It seems like everyone's just like, oh, nice, election's over. We could just hit whatever and win. That's when I'm starting to think shit's going to hit the fan again, especially with capital gains, people needing to rearrange their portfolios, this whole Senate race not even being clear yet. I think we're in for...
There are a lot of unknowns still. There's no question about it, but...
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mike on this. I just am wondering if you first are going to see sort of an out-of-control rally again.
We already saw it. We're not going to see any of that. I think we're hitting a wall now until after New Year's.
It feels like that. It just, there's so much back and forth, though. It almost seems like half the people think that and half the people don't. And that's...
I think everyone thinks that right now, that things are great because the election's over. And it seems like people are going to be blindsided. I don't think anyone actually takes the virus talk seriously because of the election. And that's part of the problem.
Well, no, I think people are definitely going to start taking it seriously because they see what's going on in wherever they.
Yeah, but we've seen over the last 9 months, the narrative is always the COVID gets bad, nothing happens short term in the market, and then it hits a wall.
I think,
after the fact.
yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are shorting the market right now, and
Well, that will hold it up.
well, I was going to say, and it's not that easy. And I think the fact that a lot of people are shorting the market, kind of thinking that everybody thinks it's too easy right now, it's almost not too easy because there's a lot of people shorting the market. And I could almost see a scenario where you get another blow off top because I think there's a lot of people that are trying to short the market. I see it on Twitter. But
you're going to get a lot of buying on the dips, though, off of the idea that this virus is going to be over in 6 to 9 months as far as a threat, and things will get back to normal. So that's constantly in the back of everyone's mind, even though they're experiencing what's going on right now. The Senate race is definitely still a threat. I mean, it's definitely possible that the Democrats can win both, and that will be severe consequences on the laws going forward.
I just won't even stay in the country if that happens. So that'll make my life pretty easy.
It'll be pathetic.
You know, while we've been talking, though, the market has come up a lot off of its lows, especially tech, which even had turned negative at one point. So, you know, tech looks like it could be another strong day. And I'm wondering if you saw a really quick 7 to 7.5% correction after that rally that happened in a flash. And, you know, I'm wondering if maybe that was a great buying opportunity. And we talk about Fiverr. That stock was up 17% yesterday. It's so hard to pull the trigger on Fiverr just because it's, you know, it's gone on such a crazy run. But anytime it's dipped, it's been a great buying opportunity. So someone asked about it, and, you know, they probably should have bought it, even though maybe it comes right back down. It's up again this morning. You know, Palantir, I was looking into them a little bit more because I'm just not really sure what they do. But essentially, it's a Peter Thiel company. It's based in Denver. Peter Thiel is the guy who started PayPal, or at least co-founded PayPal. And Palantir recently became public and just has been on a rocket ship. And they're basically a data company that taps into human mind and allows them to, I think, sell a service to the government that helps untackle human trafficking, big financial crime rings, things like that. It's very unclear when you look at what they do, what they actually do.
It's the beginning of tracking people is what that is. It's very clear. He's ahead of where the world's heading.
It seems a little shady, but like when you really dig beneath the surface, that's kind of what it's being used for, is to uncover crimes. And basically it almost reminds me of the movie Minority Report a little bit, with like tapping into what people are going to be thinking next. And, you know, I don't really know. I don't want to necessarily get into what the company's all about, but the stock has just been insane. And Dad, I was telling you about it when it was at like 9.5. I don't even own it. It sucks because,
you know, this is one that a lot of people are putting in their portfolios long term. So as you get further and further away from the IPO, you get less and less of that, you know, trader selling from the IPO. So I don't know the fundamentals, but it sure acts like a stock that wants to go higher.
yeah. We'll just look at what their market cap is right now. I was like looking at that. It's $26 billion. So not that means anything one way or another, just so you guys know.
And did you see the Rocket CEO on Tramer last night?
I actually, listened to that this morning. It was
the guy's a promoter. I mean, he asked Kramer, you know, why isn't my stock higher?
Well, Kramer was like, I don't understand. Why is that, like, everything seems great with you guys? I'm trying to figure out why the stock's down. And he's like, honestly, I don't understand either. And I kind of,
you know, he says that, but he was happy to sell the company, or, you know, a big chunk of it at what, 19?
Is that what happened? Did he?
Well, where was the IPO? You know?
To take it public. Yeah.
So they thought it was fully valued at that point.
So I'm glad you're bringing this up because I'm listening to this interview and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, like this seems like a good story and maybe I should just hold on to this stock. But you, who clearly have way more experience listening into these types of calls beneath the surface, it sounds like there's a different message being sent. Like, if you're a big shareholder of Rocket, are you dumping it after that call?
No, but I think what I would watch for is, they have this huge buyback that they announced. Let's see if they're actually buying back stock.
And at what price?
Because that'll be a good indication, and you won't know that till the next quarter. Maybe that's too late to play it, but it sure doesn't act right,
Yeah, he didn't necessarily say that he was going to be buying back stock at this price. He made sure to kind of throw in that line where, if they feel there's an opportunity and the stock's too cheaply valued, they're going to buy stock. So does all that mean when a company says they're doing a buyback program mean that like they're setting themselves up to be able to buy back? Doesn't guarantee that they're buying anything.
Right. They could determine that they don't want to, for various reasons.
Yeah.
But
Fossil shares are exploding this morning.
Which one?
Fossil, the watch company. We've never talked about them on this show. It's just interesting seeing which companies are able to successfully transition into this new e-commerce world. And they're clearly, seeing some success with it. Their shares were up as much as 25% this morning. They're up almost 25% right now. And, that'll be interesting to watch. Another thing, I know we were talking about them the last few days, but Alibaba, $75 billion for Singles Day, which wasn't just one day, it was a few days. But every year I hear the number and I'm like, all right, well, how's it going to really get any bigger than this? And they seem to it's amazing, actually, when you think about it.
I added to Baba yesterday. I'm trying to look through the weeds of all this regulatory stuff going on. It just seems like at some point this is just going to be much higher. It's an unbelievably good company, and
I doubled.
He's an amazing way he pulled this together.
I doubled down in my IRA on Baba. That's where I own it, not in my brokerage account. But when you look at their numbers, they're like so much bigger than Amazon, and they're not valued that way at all. So that'll be interesting to watch them and the Chinese stocks in general, because they continue to kind of own that narrative of the government trying to show them who's in charge. Salesforce got a downgrade this morning from Morgan Stanley, and they obviously got moved into the S&P earlier in the
Dow. They were in the Dow, right?
Or in the Dow.
Yeah, that's probably the reason. Between that and Boeing today, the Dow is getting hit pretty good.
And Salesforce is down 1.5%. They were down a little bit more this morning, but about $4. So
I think that Zoetis company, ZTS, the pet insurance stock, is interesting with what's going on now with Walmart.
ZTS?
ZTS, Walmart just added pet insurance, which clearly is a huge nod to a company like that. That's with how big pet adoption's gotten throughout the pandemic.
When you say they added pet insurance, what is Walmart doing with it?
I mean, they're basically allowing their customers to buy insurance and find pet sitters and dog walkers. So naturally, you have to think that, oh, wow, and we just see breaking news, DoorDash going public before the end of the year. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Good timing on their part. Get it in while the pandemic's still going on.
But yeah, it was ETS, it's pet insurance. So when you think about it, we talked about Chewy months ago and everyone getting dogs and cats to not be as lonely during the pandemic. With that, you have to think about pet insurance. And there's no doubt that's kind of flown under the radar. If you look at the ZTS chart, they've definitely been pretty damn impressive. It seems like, that space has next level credibility now. And they're the world's largest producer of medicine and vaccinations for pets and livestock. They were actually a subsidiary of Pfizer.
You have to wonder if that's going to eventually get on the platform of Bernie Sanders, where, it's a right to have pet insurance.
Well, that's my point. The way all these socialists are, you have to bank on that being a great stock.
I mean, it's only fair that businesses should pay for pet insurance.
Oh, it's only fair. No one should make any money for
Mike,
sure.
what's the ticker of the stock that we were talking to that kid last night?
Oh, RBA, Ritchie Brothers. We had our Matt Ensley on, a buddy yesterday who's a national sales manager at Ritchie Brothers, and we brought them up months ago. He told me to buy the stock a while ago, and I should have listened to him.
Have you ever heard of this company, Dad?
No, what do they do?
Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers. It's actually interesting. They basically buy and sell like construction equipment, and to not only businesses on a corporate level, but also to individual people. Like I was looking on their website last night. You can go on there and buy a pickup truck, or if you're a company, you could buy a bunch of tractors.
Yeah, so they do well, I would guess, when there's a lot of bankruptcies.
And you have to think, even with we've talked about an infrastructure bill, there's no doubt they're a huge winner in that. If that actually happens.
It's a great company for the moment.
Yeah, and when you look at their chart, it definitely seems appealing. It's come down a bit. They just got a price target increase yesterday. And, it seems like the time's ripe. I don't see the downside here in the years ahead with this company at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Mike. I was thinking about when we were talking to them last night, I was on their website. And I was like, I kind of like this company. It seems like
they kill it.
It's kind of like a pawnbroker stock. Isn't there there's a couple of pawn companies you could buy. And I don't remember the symbols, but they do well in this kind of thing, especially if they're online where you could, get a lot of merchandise.
I'm going to definitely keep an eye on it. I don't know if I'm going to buy really anything today. I might sell some tech stocks. If Snapchat got an upgrade this morning. I think 2 days ago, Snapchat and Pinterest were really good opportunities, at least for a short-term bounce back trade. I don't know.
You'll get another opportunity there on pullback.
You're getting the opposite opportunity today. We talked about shorting Zoom 100 times. This stock has now rallied quite a bit.
Well, yeah, when you hear the 4 to 6 week lockdown talk by Biden, of course it's rallying.
And it's also because everyone is shorted, so the shorts are getting squeezed.
But also, when you really digest everything we heard about the vaccine news and the way the market kind of reacted to everything and was projecting to continue to react to it, it was almost baking in everything just playing out perfectly with it. And I'm not saying that the vaccine is not going to be 90% effective, but they still got to get a lot of people to take it. They got to get a ton of them made. They got to distribute it.
That's the least of their problem right now because they don't have enough doses to go around. So they're not going to have to advertise for people to take it. They'll be out of it.
My whole point, though, is I think the people are kind of sitting back and thinking to themselves, is this actually going to just turn the world completely back to normal and a snap of a finger to the point where the Dow should be up 2,500?
Not per month. There won't be that till the summer, probably.
And is it really Zoom's time yet to sell off to the point where it goes down to maybe the 200s level?
No, you're absolutely right. But what's going to happen over the next month? There'll probably be at least one or two other companies that have a vaccine ready.
Yeah, either way, the timeline is the problem. They're not, even if all these vaccines are ready, the stay-at-home stocks were prematurely dished off the notion of, things are getting back to normal.
Always 6 months to a year ahead. So
I also saw this morning, and I don't really know how much this is weighing in on what's happening in the markets, but I think it was Southwest or one of the airline companies, but I think Southwest came out and said that they kind of saw their bounce back peak, and now they're seeing their business start to slow down again. So, which isn't shocking when you just think about the season and the time of year it is. So that didn't really take me back. I look at it like people are going to be traveling as much as ever when you get into the months that people travel. And maybe because of the pandemic with all the restrictions, people are doing their traveling like a little bit more last minute. That was one of the comments they made, was that people aren't necessarily like booking trips as far out as advance as much as last minute.
But I'm thinking now of trying to, think about a trip at the end of next summer maybe, and booking it now because I'm worried there won't be enough seats available on flights. So that's the other side of it. If you're thinking, long term and vacations, maybe going out of the country, you probably want to think about booking trips now.
Yeah.
If you're flying, you're not going to be able to go anywhere.
No, I mean, that is a good point. And I think that's just more of like someone your age's mentality versus a young person who tries to just do everything last minute. So,
Yeah.
But, yeah. Another thing is DraftKings has their earnings tomorrow morning before the bell. So we won't have a chance to, or actually, I guess we'll be kind of maybe talking about it as it happens.
I think they'll have a good earnings because they're coming in with such low expectations. I like the whole fact that they're supposed to be worse than last quarter is, to me, a joke.
Wait, who said that?
That's what, if you look at the numbers, they're expecting the quarter to be worse than last quarter.
How is that even possible? This last quarter was the quarter that all the sports were happening.
That's my point. So they're going in with such a low bar. I think we're going to see a pop.
I saw well, first off, let me just say that DraftKings, and Dag could speak more about this, but like it's similar to a Beyond Meat in the sense that like with the way the stock's value, they need to do a massive blowout just to convince people that this is such a growth story, because that's just how the stock is, even though it's come down a lot. But I did see a really impressive number from FanDuel yesterday somewhere where they saw like a figure in the billion range for how many bets were placed on FanDuel, I think in the last quarter, or something that made me like kind of have a jaw-dropping moment. It was crazy, actually. But so, I think the industry is hot, and maybe DraftKings catches people off guard by reporting before the bell. Like this is normally a situation where if they had earnings after the bell today, I think you would see the stock trade up into earnings.
We're better off with reports in the morning. People are in better moods. And if I was a CEO of a company like that, I'd be reporting my stock early in the day every go around. There was a whole study done on that.
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up once, actually. So that's an
I'm expecting a huge day. I bet DraftKings is up tomorrow 10% during the day.
Well, it's interesting. The analyst numbers on DraftKings have come down in the last 30 days.
That's my whole point. The expectations have been tampered. It reminds me of Beyond after the shit show the other day. You're going to see them next quarter crush it.
Oh, if this has a Beyond type quarter, I'm not on a high enough floor here.
What's that?
No, Dad's saying if they have a quarter like Beyond,
No, I'm just saying the expectations going into this quarter for DraftKings are not high at all.
Totally. Yeah, listen, I hope that they have a great quarter. I own a ton, and I'd love to see them pop on the news and get back into the 50s range. That'd be amazing. Zillow had a nice bounce back yesterday. Dad, let me ask you, because I know the Fed's set to have their little speech today like they do what seems like every Thursday, but is that – I know the last few days people have been talking like, oh, rates are going to go back up now that there's a vaccine. Is this now a situation where we're going to find out more about that? Like, does anybody actually think he's going to come out and be like, yeah, we're now going to increase rates? There's just
no chance. 0%.
That's what I'm saying. Is there any chance that he says anything that's going to move the markets up?
He may say that, he really thinks they need a stimulus and start pressing that more, where it gets in the minds of everybody that, with the higher numbers and the pandemic getting worse, that stimulus means more and more. So
I want to hear that guy come out and be like, listen, anytime any stock falls below its 20-day moving average, we're buying it until it gets back up. So.
He's not buying stock yet. This market is too strong for them to be even thinking about that.
I know. Do you think they have targets where if it fell to like 2,800, they'd be like...
You never know what they talk about in private, but, up until now, they've never bought, as far as we know, stocks or indexes with stocks, but they've come awfully close. So
That would really be such a weird thing for them to do. Like, how would you ever really bet against a stock ever again if you knew?
No, I mean, the only way they would do that is an index to protect, the general market. And I don't even think they're authorized to do that at this point. They could get authority, but.
So, Mike, let me ask you: you think the market's going to sell off hard, and you got Beyond Meat at like 130?
I'm not. Beyond Meat is an anomaly. I'm holding on there. As I told you when they were down at 107, I wasn't getting rid of that. Now they're almost back to 130.
Well, that was kind of what I was asking. Is do you think this is kind of a gift? And without 107,
it would be a gift if I get rid of it for the person on the other side. Is what that is. That whole thing is going to be completely fine. Even if the market sells off and that goes down, I got 10 months, Dan. That's why I do long-term options.
You should call investor relations for Beyond Meat. I'm pretty sure they would hire you.
Well, they should have me running their, like Dan said, their earnings reports. They'd probably be at 180 right now. But no, I think at the end of the day, of course, things like that, sure, there'll be a sell-off. They'll dip 10, 15%, and it's part of the game.
I'm looking at Boeing right now. I'm trying to.
I bought more Boeing yesterday. I guess I did it a day prematurely.
They're hitting the airline stocks off of all the COVID stuff, and there was also, I think, some type of issue on one of the cruise ships again.
What do you mean? What happened?
Where somebody got the virus. Like, I don't know if it's Carnival or not.
So is today a good day to jump on? Because when we think about this narrative again with this lockdown, anytime you hear the name lockdown, it just obviously leads to travel selling off. Is today a good day to maybe dabble in a save?
Well, yeah, I think it might be. It's hard to buy these things when they're down hard and everyone's negative on them.
But that's when it's great.
Yeah.
My biggest thing, Dad, and I'm surprised you're not like more worried about this, is just like what Carnival Cruise did. Their stock pops, they immediately do an offering. Like, how do we know there's not
they didn't do an offering. They just authorized at different points they could do stock.
So what does that mean exactly? Because it caused the stock to sell off by like 12%.
I know. In a way, it's worse because now any day they could do something, up to the amount they authorized. But a lot of these stocks have already done all of that and have enough money to see them through.
Gotcha.
So I don't see that happening with Boeing. I guess it's possible, but
you see Bitcoin's at 16,000.
Jesus, really?
Yep.
It's actually at 16.
Like literally exactly. It's 15,999 and change right now. It was at like 16 and dollar.
15,080. Where are you seeing 15,99?
What is that?
I'm seeing 15,080.
1680, you say?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, then mine might be behind by a minute.
Can I buy it where you look at it?
I mean, Dad, you should buy it regardless of anyone looking at it. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, if I owned a lot of it right now, I would definitely sell it and look to reload it on a dip. But I'm not doing that because I only own like 2 of them.
I mean, that's plenty.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's not like that's nothing.
It's not nothing. I'm happy with the amount I own. It's just like if I owned a bigger position, I think this has gone too far at this point.
Based on what?
Based on now you got everyone on TV talking about Bitcoin again.
Yeah, I know, but none of them are actually talking about Bitcoin. They're just talking about it going up. They're not talking about what it is. So that's where I don't think there's plenty of room to run here. Dad even said it last week, no man's land. You still have till close to 20,000 before there's any of that. When you think about it.
Oh man, no, look, I'm holding on to it. It's
as long as you could find another guy to sell it to, it's great.
Yeah,
Dad, you're going to be wondering how the hell to buy a coffee in a year, and you're going to give them $1, and they're going to be like, "What is this?"
If that happens in a year, we're in big trouble.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, well, we will see on that. I don't think that's going to happen, but.
I mean, either way, Bitcoin's going to the moon. So you should try to get a little bit at some point.
I find this a very hard market because it's almost so obvious the way it moved from one side to the other. And
I think stay-at-home stocks, you have good opportunities to get back in because this lockdown, it's not like we're getting back to normal until probably the summer. That's what cracks me up here. Vaccine news.
Yeah, but again, the market's ahead of itself. So
That's my point, though. The vaccine made people think we're getting back to normal way sooner.
I think stay-at-home stocks that are pure stay-at-home plays might have seen their tops, but and I brought this up yesterday. When you look at companies like Twilio, like Fastly, like Amazon, to me, those are going to outperform cyclicals in the next 3 months, even though everyone's saying the opposite. Like,
I mean, Amazon is going to keep going up no matter what.
Like Microsoft, Apple, like the big tech stocks that are the growth stories, in my opinion, are going to crush this whole recovery story that everyone on TV is talking about. And that's how I'm positioned. I hope I'm not wrong. I obviously had a great day yesterday because I'm a little bit overweighted on tech. But I just find it hard to believe that people aren't going to be chomping at the bit to pick up stocks that are 20 to 30% off their highs for companies that have had like dominant earnings in the last quarter. So we'll end it on that.
Subscribe, Rolland Market Mashup. Thanks for watching.